The pitch to the sideline, the calls that shape the game. Welcome to Excellence in Action, the referee show here on islandstats.com, where we dabble in the world of officiating, dissect the decisions, and celebrate the men and women in the middle. Join us each week as we chat with top officials, analyze controversial moments, and explore the challenges and triumphs of being a referee. Get inside perspective on the rules, the pressure, and the split-second judgments that can make or break a match. It's more than just whistles and flags, it's excellence in action. Now let's get to the show. And good afternoon, and welcome to this edition of Referee Corner here on islandstats.com. Excellence in Action. I'm joined by Timothy Derry, overseas referee that has come to Bermuda to assist us from Trinidad. Timothy, obviously everybody knows what's going on in Trinidad right now. What are you doing in Bermuda, in cold Bermuda?
I'm not a carnival junkie at all.
Oh, you're not?
No, I'm not.
Oh, okay. So you're not missing anything.
Not at all.
Okay. All right. Well, take us through how you got started with officiating.
So I always play football. I always love football. It's my number one sport, as a matter of fact. And I think I always wanted to get involved in refereeing, but I didn't know how to in Trinidad. And one day, a guy, one of the older guys in refereeing in Trinidad, I asked him about it, and he said he was a referee for about 20 years. And I was like, I didn't know this. How do I sign up? And he said there was a course going on. It already started, but he will find out if I could join. And I joined. And then I'm here today.
Oh, and what you said you always wanted to be a referee. What intrigued you about it to want to be a referee?
I like control. I like control, and also another part of that is that when I was playing football, there was a lot of horrible referees, and I was one of the guys who always argued with the referee in decisions.
Oh,
So I thought maybe if I get into refereeing, I could start to change things a bit.
Yeah. And what have you, since you've been in this position, what do you think about the changes that have been made for the betterment of the game?
Well, now I was one that used to argue with referees. Now people argue with me, but I see, but obviously now I see things from a different perspective. You're doing the right thing, but sometimes players don't understand the laws of the game or understand what you saw. They might see things differently. You're making the correct decision, but obviously they don't agree. Every decision you make on the field, there's 50% of the people that would not agree with you.
That's right.
But I think I'm doing well. I think I'm doing well. I always try to put my best. Always try to my next game always better than the last game.
When did the bug hit you that you wanted to take your career in refereeing to a higher level and become a FIFA official?
Almost immediately as I started. As I started training in Trinidad, at the time we had zones. So the country was split up into different zones: north, south, central. I was part of central zone. So my first training session, one of the instructors and a referee, Ian Zero Shot, you met him already.
Yeah.
They saw me at the first day, and they told me that they see FIFA in me. So from that day, that was always the goal. I didn't know much about it. I didn't know how to get there. I didn't know what it entails. I just know that was refereeing at the highest level, and that was the goal from day one.
Yeah. Now let me ask you, what has been some of the things that has excited you about the opportunities that you've had to officiate?
Different cultures, different playing styles. Almost everywhere you go, the football is different from Trinidad. The personalities are different. So being able to manage, being able to control players from different regions excites me a bit. I tend to use my management skills a lot in games. So I don't speak much Spanish. I'm learning.
Yeah.
So dealing with Spanish players in particular, sometimes they think you don't know Spanish, but you mention maybe a sentence and they assume you know Spanish, so they start behaving themselves a bit
Ah,
more than they would. Um, travel, of course. Travel, of course. Refereeing got me to Bermuda. I don't think I would have been here without refereeing ever in life. Uh,
right.
so yeah, it definitely, and in the future, I think connection to all over the world is in the horizon.
Yeah. Now, one thing that I've noticed in your resume, because I've looked at your resume, uh, how difficult is it for you, or how difficult was it for you to officiate a game in your home country?
So I always say refereeing, you have to be strong. You
Hmm.
have to have a strong personality. If you're not very strong mentally, you're not gonna last very long in it because we know about all the abuse from
Yes.
parents, from teams, from coaches,
Hmm.
uh, from fans. Um, it's been difficult at times in Trinidad. You hear a lot of insults,
Hmm.
even from the outside, but it made me strong as a person. Definitely made me strong as a person. So sometimes you need to know when to shut things out
Uh-huh.
and be focused on the game. So a lot of times, even players would be saying things, and I would just turn my head away, like if I'm not hearing. But then sometimes you need to address it when it happens.
Sure, sure,
It's
sure.
been difficult, but I'm coping with it.
And I've recognized the fact that you've been here to do not only domestic matches, but you've been here to do international matches as well. Um, just how do you compare what we're doing here domestically as far as refereeing? Because we have quite a few young people that are getting involved in it from an early age, and as you can see from, or I'm not sure if you've probably seen the academy that is hosted by the referee chairman Cranston William on Sunday mornings, where a lot of youngsters are coming in to get extra training from people such as yourself who have been to, I would say, somewhat of a mountaintop.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I always say, even the first time I came here, when I went back to Trinidad, I always say it's the best youth program I've seen. I haven't
Mm.
been to much
Yeah,
places, but I
yeah.
think it's the best youth program I have seen within the Caribbean.
Hmm.
Mr. Williams is doing a fantastic job, and very soon he'll be reaping the rewards. He already did. He,
Yeah.
he, he got his goal. He got a trio.
Yes.
Amari finally on the list, so
Yeah.
really happy with that. But very very soon, the younger ones can't be FIFA yet, but they're
Right.
on the right track. As long as they stay committed, he definitely would have more than three people on the panel.
Yeah. Well, I was speaking with another group last week from Jamaica, and I was asking them about, just that we have these young people, but trying to give them incentive to stay in it. They're mixing playing the game with officiating the game. But one of the things, the way to keep them encouraged of officiating is to give them opportunities to officiate somewhat somewhere else. Um, when you had that notion that you wanted to become a referee, did you have vision of officiating outside of Trinidad?
I had vision of doing so, but it took some time. It took some time. I had to move up the ladder, operate in the professional league in Trinidad, and then I went to the next gen CFU next generation course.
Yes, yes.
So I raised some eyebrows there.
Uh-huh.
I got an opportunity, and then I went to the CONCACAF Academy. I did well, and
Right.
then FIFA now. But what you're saying is absolutely correct. They're so young now. To keep them interested in refereeing, they gotta have opportunities. I think Cranston will find a way for, for these guys to be occupied. Um,
Yes.
and I did a game last night. One team, Isaiah was on one team, and
Yes.
Star was on the other team.
Yes.
Know that they referee and they play, but they also getting opportunities in the top league here to referee. So
Hmm.
you have teenagers refereeing adults, which is good uh,
Right.
for experience. Me, I didn't have that opportunity, and I'm sure a lot of other referees all over the
Yeah.
world didn't have
Yeah.
that opportunity to referee
Di-
um,
di-
at that big jump.
right.
Uh, so he'll find ways. He'll find ways. Grandson is creative.
Very creative.
He'll find ways to keep that involved.
Now, did you have to remind those two that they were actually players and not officials on the night?
They know. they they know when they see me. I don't play around. So there was one guy in the game. He got a card for kicking away the ball
Uh-huh.
for decision, and then he continued to show dissent,
Uh-huh.
both verbally and by action. So
Right.
I thought he was feeling a bit cold. He got a second yellow card and went to the dressing room
Uh-huh.
because it's kids, and I know the culture here.
Yes.
And Cranston is big on respect for referees. So while I might manage it at the higher level, I
Uh-huh.
might use management skills. These are kids. These are
Right.
kids, and we need to stamp that out at that this level. Hey, this is
Yes.
not allowed. What you're doing is not okay. You
Right.
need to get off.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Definitely. What would you consider thus far your hardest match that you've had to officiate?
Oh, the hardest match I had to officiate. Believe it or not, it wasn't an international game.
Ah.
Yeah, it was a local game back in Trinidad,
Uh-huh.
and it was fast.
Right.
It was tough, and the game ended 4-3.
Oh boy.
Yeah, so Ainsley was with me on that game
Oh,
also,
okay.
and we had communication, and Ainsley very close to the end. Ainsley was like, Tim, a roast. I was like, Ainsley, me too. So that was a difficult game. There was no red cards, fortunately. But
Right.
it was difficult. It was very fast. It was challenging. Lots of meaty tackles. So a
Sure.
lot of personal man management skills was used in the game, and obviously, fitness definitely had to show in that
Sure.
match.
Sure. Well, I'm not sure if you've heard, but over the weekend, some new rules have been um, implemented or will be implemented come
Mhm.
this summer. Obviously, once you guys get together and go over how they're going to be implemented into and the actual how they're going, what the rules really entail, because you have had so many different pundits and people trying to interpret how this rule is going to come into play, especially the one of the 8 seconds with the goalkeeper and when does it start and all of that. So making sure that you guys have some consistency and understanding. It's a job for the instructors of the referees, but how do you take that information personally? Because how you might perceive it is not how I might perceive it, and we would be in the same room, kind of thing.
Mhm. So definitely for consistency, it's a job for the instructors in the various MAs.
Uh-huh.
But I wouldn't say that is the be all and end all. The
Yes.
referees themselves have to take it upon themselves to stay updated with the laws. So
Hmm.
as you're speaking about the law changes, they have already published it to come into
Yes.
effect. So what you should be doing as a referee, you should already be reading you should already be reading up on it and
Hmm.
waiting for, because sometimes IFAB post video examples of
Yes.
explaining what exactly it means. So
Yes.
they already have it, fine, but you can wait for it or keep reading. Every time I open the laws of the game,
Uh-huh.
um, you always see something new. So you might read the same page 10 times, and every time you go back to it, there's
Yes.
something that you go, aha, this is what it means, or
Right.
you're open to new what do you call it, interpretation of the laws. But for
Yes.
consistency, the instructors have a part to play, but as referees, we have to keep going back to the laws of the game. Keep it close to you. It should always be close to you. Don't be afraid to open it and read it,
Right.
because that's your bread and butter at the end of the day. You
Yes.
have to apply them on the field to the best of your ability.
Are you one of those that kind of go over the rules as a pregame habit, or you just when you're ready to reassure yourself, that's when you take the book up?
Both instances. So I have the laws the on the phone now.
Right,
So you don't have to walk around with a book. Some people
right.
like the book. I like
Yeah.
the phone and the laptops. So it's always at my fingertips.
Uh-huh.
So I always peruse it, and also if I need to get clarification on something, I'll go to it. But pre-game, I would go through some of the laws just to recap things, and
Hmm.
also for some of us, we have online platforms where we can look at videos and analyze clips,
Sure.
make decisions, and then see what the correct decision is by FIFA or CONCACAF as a new platform also.
Hmm.
So I go over clips over and over and over. Sometimes my wife is annoyed sometimes because of the amount of times I look at clips, but then sometimes she actually comes and sits with me and
Right.
tries to get the correct answer before I tell her what the answer should be. So
Oh, okay.
yeah.
What is recruitment like for officials in Trinidad?
So we have courses. We sometimes we have national courses
Hmm.
um, where there's an online link. You go to that, and there's a mixture of online and in-person classes. And then sometimes we have zonal classes where the different zones are responsible for recruitment
Hmm.
within the regions. You do the online and in-person classes, then you write an exam, maybe a fitness check, and then depend. They try not to fail anyone in the exam.
Right.
So you start at category 3 as long as you pass. If your marks aren't very good, they still pass you, but you become a category 4, and then maybe do over the exam. So at least
Mm.
you can keep training and getting involved in games and so on.
Sure,
And
sure.
from category 3, work your way up to 1, and then maybe CFU next gen, CONCACAF, Academy, FIFA, and so on.
Mm. Now, I remember when Trinidad qualified for the World Cup, it galvanized and brought a whole nation together of sorts. But it's been a struggle since then.
Mhm.
From your standpoint, how do you think football is affecting the country itself?
So when we qualified for that World Cup, um, I remember I was in school.
Hmm.
I was in school, and when we qualified, my dad picked me up from school, and it was the most peaceful and joyful day in Trinidad and Tobago's history. I mean, so sometimes you're driving and you're trying to come out of a street and no one
Hmm.
stops for you to pass,
Right.
or you're trying to cross the road and nobody's stopping for you to cross the road. On
Sure.
that day, anybody's coming out, you're stopping, come, let's go. Everybody's popping, honking their horns at each other, waving.
Yeah.
It was the best time in Trinidad and Tobago's history. So football can really bring a nation together.
Yeah.
Right now, we past couple of years we went through a bit of a tough patch.
Hmm.
We had glimpses of hope, and then we went through some bad times again. But it looks like we're on the right track again.
Right.
It's one of the some people would say the easiest opportunities for us to qualify for the World Cup.
Hmm.
So I would say the ball is in our hands as
Right.
a country, but you have to do your part. Only
Yeah.
thing you definitely have to do your part and not take things for granted.
Yeah. Now, I only ask that because people recognize footballers and treat them one way. How are you treated outside the game, being recognized as an official?
So in Trinidad, again, you have to build relationships with players and coaches
Hmm.
and other staff as a referee. Otherwise, your game is always going to be difficult. You can manage it, but it will always be difficult.
Mm.
So you don't have to be best friends,
Right.
but develop respect, mutual respect. Sometimes they would agree with your decision, sometimes they don't. But when the game is done, they still have respect for you. So many times I'm walking in the supermarket or driving, and somebody would pass and say, "Hey, ref, I may not know your name,
Right.
I may know your name. I might remember. I might even remember the face.
Yeah.
But as a referee, I've refereed that player before. He remembers me. has a respect for me. Hey, ref, how you going? What's up? So on and so on. Even in Bermuda, and the couple of times I've been here, you might
Uh-huh.
see some players on the outside, and they'll say, "Hey, ref, what's up? What game
Right.
you doing this weekend?" So on and so on. So
Ah,
it's good. It's good to develop this type of respect with the players. This
right.
relationship. It's
Yeah.
good for the game.
You're close to getting that passport changed. I don't know what your wife will say, but when you're recognized in the street by players.
If I have to get mine changed, she has to get us changed.
I'm not sure what she does back in Trinidad, but I don't think she'll complain too. Well, other than this coldness, she won't complain too
She
much.
won't. She won't. She's been here, and she's ready. She's ready to move in.
See, Cranston, you can make things happen. So let me ask you, what if obviously everybody's goal when involved in football is to officiate a World Cup, whether it be right now the opportunities to create to officiate in a World Cup is so much more than what it was years ago because we only had the men's World Cup, but now we have the women's, the under 20s, the under 17s, but just to be recognized for a World Cup. What would that mean? Or have you done in any World Cups yet?
No, not yet. Not
Yeah.
yet.
What would that mean to you if and when selected to officiate in a World Cup?
So just like players in any sport, there's a World Cup. Just like players dream of getting to a World Cup, I think it's any dream of a referee to get to a World Cup also. And as you mentioned, there are many other opportunities now. They have the senior World Cup. You have the under 17s World Cup, and
Mhm.
now it's even better because the under 17 World Cup is now every year for
Yes.
boys. So that's amazing. It gives referees more opportunities to get their name ticked. They went
Yes.
to a World Cup and show their talent. And if you do well in the under 17 World Cup, they might have their eyes on you looking at a senior World Cup. But I mean, a World Cup is a World Cup. At the end of the
Yeah.
day, it's a FIFA World Cup. So, but again, as referees, you might have to set realistic goals also. So start small, start making your name, building a brand for yourself at a
Mhm.
regional level, and keep doing what you need to do. Keep working hard, um, and you'll reap the rewards eventually.
Sure, sure. And of course we all know come next year where our region is hosting the senior men's World Cup. Um, Given an opportunity, if called upon, what would that do for what would that do for your life, your career?
Can you repeat? Could you repeat?
Yeah, we're as you know, next year the region is hosting the senior men's World Cup. But if given the opportunity selected, what would that do for your life and your career? What would that mean for your life and your career?
I mean, that would be a surreal opportunity. That would be life changing. Obviously, it's a World Cup, and the butterflies that would come with that opportunity, man, I tell you. But at the end of the day, so for me, every game I go to, it doesn't matter if it's under 12, under 15, a senior, international, or local game. You
Uh-huh.
always have butterflies. You always get that nervous feeling before the start of every game.
Sure.
What you need to find a way to do is to channel that energy into positive energy
Hmm.
and see how fast you can get into your game, lock out everything else, and get into the game. I think making it a World Cup, that would be the biggest challenge. But again, it comes with experience because at the end of the day, that's when most eyes are on you as a referee. So you have to be on your best performance in order to if you get to that point, you have one match and you have to be on your best to get another match and then another match and then another,
Yes.
because everybody at the World Cup is trying to get to the finals,
The
right?
final. Yes. Yeah.
Everybody can't get there. They will have to be the best at that particular. So
Tournament.
if
Yes.
I ever get whenever I ever get to that stage, the goal isn't just one game and head home. The
Mhm.
goal is always to get to the final.
Yeah.
Always to get to the final.
Now, I know FIFA and CONCACAF, especially for the officials, is a lot about fitness and making sure the officials are healthy and so forth. Outside of the training you're doing with a group, what are you doing personally to make sure that you're in the best fitness shape, both mentally and physically?
So training with the groups locally could never be enough because,
Hmm.
especially in the Caribbean, referees are not full-time jobs.
Right.
In the U.S. and in Mexico, I believe they are full time jobs. So
Hmm.
their work is refereeing. So you wake up, you referee, go back home, wake up, go to training, and so on. In the
Hmm.
Caribbean, it isn't like that. So the group trainings doesn't come as often. Maybe once a week, once every 2 weeks.
Hmm.
Could even be once a month in different MAs. So you definitely have to do your own thing.
Hmm.
What happens? The fitness instructors in CONCACAF, Kadisha and Alan, they send out programs to the officials,
Yes.
training programs. We can tweak them to suit our particular needs.
Hmm.
So we have to train at least 5 days a week.
Hmm.
That training will be broken up depending on high intensity, low intensity, medium, sprint training, recovery, and so on. So I try to do my thing as best as I could on my own, and whenever there's group training, well, we go to that and see how it goes from there.
Sure. What advice would you have, or what advice have you given to our young people that you've been in touch with, as far as the training regiment, just to encourage them to keep going?
So they have people here that they could look up to now. They had Stefan and Randy before, and
Hmm.
Natasha, and now we have Amari. So looking, getting somebody to look up to isn't far away. But again, Cranston always brings in the overseas officials, some people that went to the World Cup, people that went to
Hmm.
Gold Cup, even instructors
Yes.
come in more frequently now, instructors and assessors. So I give some advice I give to them is just always try to keep learning, always try to make a next game better than the last. Um, it can't be too hard on them again because they're very young. So
Hmm.
they will make mistakes. Even me and people at the top, the highest, even referees at the World Cup, they make mistakes.
Hmm.
So don't be too hard on yourself. But development can only come when you realize you made mistakes and try to find ways to avoid them happening again. If you're making mistakes and you're always in denial, okay, nah, I didn't make a mistake, or you give a bad penalty and I say you go home dying, that's a penalty, that's a penalty. You can never improve as a referee. You have to acknowledge when you make mistakes and always try to improve and find ways to avoid a repeat.
Sure, sure. Well, Timothy, I personally want to thank you, and on behalf of the people of Bermuda, not just the football community, but the people of Bermuda, I want to thank you for coming and assisting us to ensure that our game continues. I know by you leaving Trinidad, it puts a little strain on them as well, but to be willing to come and help us, I want to thank you very much, and hopefully we get to see you again soon, and you get that reward of doing a World Cup, because as you said, every footballer's dream is to be involved in some way somehow with a World Cup, and to get there, in my field, when I was out and about doing this type of work, the Olympics was a goal, and I got to attend two of them, and the Paralympics. So I just by going to those, I felt a sense of pride and so forth. So I would know what it would feel like as an official to be honored, just to be in attendance and officiate and be involved in some way, shape, or form. So I want to congratulate you and wish you all the best in that achievement. And thank you again for coming and helping out Bermuda Football Association in these matches.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm always excited whenever. As a matter of fact, Cranston always say whenever you're available, let him know.
Yeah.
It's always a pleasure. It's always a pleasure to be here. And you'll definitely see me soon again.
Okay. All right. Enjoy the rest of the afternoon. Good luck this evening. We know it's supposed the weather's supposed to change up a little bit, and hopefully, we get you some better weather before you get out of here. But again, thanks a lot, and good luck tonight, and whatever for the remainder of the time that you're here. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
All righty. Folks, we'll be back next week with another edition of Referee Corner, Excellence in Action. Have a good day.